congregation was in a tough spot, really for many years. It's not an unfamiliar story. Slow decline over several decades left us in a place where we had about 45 people in worship in a sanctuary that was meant to hold 400. We had long deferred maintenance issues that amounted to about $2 million worth of work that really needed to be done to make the building become a place that was up to modern standards of hospitality, like an elevator to get to the second floor, and that fixed HVAC issues. I'm not telling you anything you probably haven't heard before. You can picture it. This congregation prayed hard and took courage and decided to call my husband and I as co-pastors to serve them. And we had hard conversations coming into this because they were at a place where they didn't even really need a full-time minister as their numbers looked, much less to call two of us. But we felt the Holy Spirit's call to be with them and see if we really believed in resurrection, if we could really find a new way into the world with this congregation. So our first step when we began this adventure with what is now Connection Christian Church of Odessa was to attend the DCEF New Church Leader Training. I went with two leaders from our congregation just to start to give them an idea of what's possible, sort of what next church could look like. That was so inspiring for these leaders, and they came back fired up to say, look what we could do. Look what other congregations are doing. What if we thought of ourselves as a new church? And so then that led to a process with Disciples Church Extension Fund, where we used the New Beginnings process and consulted with one of the leaders at DCEF. This process honestly had been done before by the church, but it hadn't ever been finished. It's not always the right time, but this time was the Kairos moment. And so we entered into this long 2-year process of discernment. It was longer than I would have wanted it to be for sure. And when we came to the end of it, really having listened and struggled and tried to pray hard about what it is God wanted for this congregation, which was in its 110th year of faithfulness, we came to a conclusion that was just completely indecisive. I remember that board meeting well. We had all the information from the New Beginnings process, and half the congregation seemed to want to stay and give it an old college try once more. And the other half said, forget it, we've tried hard, let's move on, let's sell the building and try something new. I remember that board meeting well when Bill Davis, our property chair at the time, who knew deeply how much this building and our situation was costing us financially and in spiritual vitality, finally spoke up and he said, this congregation has entrusted our board to make decisions, to lead, so let's lead. We decided that day to put the building on the market and see what happened. And wow. Now, 8 years later from that decision, something like that, we are coming into such a vital time in our ministry. So much has happened. We sold that building. We bought a dialysis center and medical office building and renovated it to be our new place for worship and ministry. Half of our new location is a connection center, we call it, for nonprofits in our community. And the other half is our church's meeting spaces and sanctuary. I remember when we decided to change the name of our beloved First Christian Church, Disciples of Christ in Odessa, Texas. I called our consultant with Church Extension and I said, hey, do we really have to make them think about changing the name? I'm tired of change and I know they're tired of change. And I'll never forget what he said. He said, you know, you've gone through all of this process to relocate and repurpose and revitalize the church. If you don't change the name, none of that will be as effective as it could have been. Oh, I didn't want to hear that, but it was what we needed to hear. And I'm so thankful for Disciples Church Extension Fund to be a part of being the catalyst for us doing the change that we needed. Because what we experienced is that once we became Connection Christian Church in a new location with a renewed sense of our purpose and ministry to this community, we experienced a resurrection. We died to a lot of what we thought church had to be, but the good Lord raised us up again to a new life. Today, I am speaking with you from the children's worship room, one of two in our building. Since we've moved into this space, we have more than tripled in our worship attendance and in our households involved participating in the ministry of Jesus Christ through Connection Christian Church. The history that we have has given us identity, and the faith we have has given us a new future, a new way into the world. Thanks, Disciples Church Extension Fund.